Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Astrology Victoria. Today, with your host, Tatiana, also broadcasting for ANN Archetypal News Network. And today, I will be bringing you the astrology for the first half of the month of July to see what's going on, what's happening in the sky. Today, joining us, little Neptune here. He is sick. So I am doing my very Cancer duties today with a Sun in Cancer today, July 1st, and a Mercury in Cancer um, as well. So having this feeling of nurturing, very important at this time. What kicks off this month of July? It's it's the nature of sensation, sensing, feeling, and the opposite of feeling, which is the non-feeling or the noticing, when we're not in touch with our sensitivity. So whenever we have this Cancer energy present, we might want to focus on our feelings, on our sensations, and really taking the time to slow down and go a little bit more internal. This whole month, I mean, at least for the first 10 days, there will be a big opportunity to have that retreat time to look within, to really sense, as there are other things happening that are more flashy and eccentric. I feel that these 10 days, this first 10 days of the month, we do have an opportunity to look at what's important, what we really care about. Oops. What we really care about, and the beings and people that are in our life, and as well how we care for our hearts, how we care for our own being. Self-care, self-love, it's very much indicated. Care is the word that just keeps coming, and care is something that is not just when we're too much outside of ourselves, it's difficult to see what is requiring attention. So this is what I'm getting now is you require attention right now a little bit. We require attention. For me in particular, it's very interesting because today, on this day, Saturn is at 7 degrees of Pisces, transiting my fourth house. And that might be a little bit more advanced astrology for those who are not astrology savvy. Um, and I do feel that I have that opposition to my natal Saturn. It's difficult to balance out the need to take care of things in the home, like a sick kitten. Um, and I also, if any prayers come my way for my little sick kitten, that's always welcome. And at the same time, trying to be out in the world and making a difference. It's an interesting balance. So anyway, moving on with our presentation today, I did have the time. I did take the time to make a little presentation for us so we can see the main things occurring in the sky. So yes, we will have June 3rd, that's in 2 days. We will be having the full moon in Capricorn, and I will be discussing amply what this means, because this full moon, I think, will carry the energy of the full moon will carry through to really the rest of the month, in terms of how we can evolve ourselves if we really pay attention to the healing powers of this full moon in Capricorn and what it may be trying to show us. And if we address it consciously, how the next steps of finding ourselves and our self-expression and being full bloom can be more actualized if we pay attention to these energies that might come up again. So we'll talk about that. And July 10th, that's why I'm saying this is like a week of a very, or 10 days of a very different energy, because once Mars enters Virgo, Mercury enters Leo, we're going to be moving in a very different direction the rest of the month, and we'll talk about that in 2 weeks, how the rest of the month will play out. But basically right now we're going to have a very different energy, and very supportive if we do choose to not go too hectic and too outside, too outside ourselves, trying to push ourselves out in the world. I think this can be a good combination of supportive aspects for healing. So let's dive deep. So as I'm talking, you can see this is a little bit of the overview for the astrology savvy. You can understand all the symbols as like, what is all this? But I always like to put it up in case you're like, oh yeah, this is what's happening. And I know my chart. And if you don't know your chart and you're wanting to learn a little bit about it, you can always contact me. I am really happy to be offering readings in evolutionary astrology, holistic astrology of what I do, and readings of all kinds, solar returns for those having the birthday this month. If you want a solar return reading, I'm having a promo for 50% off for solar returns for the month of July. So just write in the comments, look up in the comment, look in the description below how to find me, and I will be very happy to assist you in your journey. Okay, let's get in that aside. Let's move on. So July 1st is today, and we're having, I always like to look at kicking off the month. So the main things I'm going to focus today are going to be, the Cancer energy that is present, that we will see opposing the Capricorn energy, and how that will play a big part in our next cycle of evolution. We're going to be looking at the Venus and the Mars still conjunct in Leo and in this square to Uranus, which is very interesting. Two very different energies, but that have something very they correlate really well if we understand what to do with them, which is exactly why I'm here. So stick to the end. And we're going to this is mainly what we're going to focus on, and we do have the trine of Saturn to Mercury and the Sun, which is also a very supportive energy for focus, for intentional focus in that, what I would say, care again. There is, Saturn always brings awareness to responsibility and how we can be responsible. And when it for me, this trine of this water trine energy really points to looking within and to being responsible with what we're feeling and how we can enact that in the world. And for example, in my case with my sick cat today, I really felt, and this is very current, I really felt the need to go out and do my responsibilities out in the world and everything that I need to be done. But something called me like, oh, there is something really important that I need to care for, and it's in my own home. It's my cat, my very loving cat. So, and you could say that, that's for children, for families. It's a big time to address, and that's a word that comes like, let's address things that are pertinent to the family. And the family is not just our family. It could be our sisters, brothers, mothers, fathers, children, pets. It's or beloveds. It's also having to do with how you nurture your inner emotional self. So maybe talking about these emotions or putting them down, writing down in paper, or having some kind of process for you to actually be with your sensing body, with the sensitivity. That's kind of what's coming to me. There's many interpretations for this trend, but to me it's really about taking responsibility for our inner world, our emotions, and how when we take responsibility for our emotions, we're able to see more clearly that nothing is outside of ourselves. And instead of blaming outside, we look inside and we fix whatever it's in us that's not functioning. And this trine is very supportive of that, of of making sure that you can take the time, and Saturn rules over time, to actually do that. So whatever is pending in your life, mm, this is also a great energy for focus, for focus. Whatever it's pending, you left things pending. Again, with the retrograde, and Saturn right now is retrograding, is what have you left pending? Um, and any if you look at your wherever your Pisces house is in your chart, you are probably aware of what are the Saturn lessons that are coming for you in this next um, more, give or take, 3 years, while Saturn is asking you to mature in a certain area of your life and will give you lots of opportunities. I would like to call them opportunities more than challenges, to look at what you need to be responsible for. And this is why when we have these uh, opportunities, and in when there's so much water and we have earth and water and fire, very little air this time around, uh, we might need to not go overly into the emotionality or the detachment from emotionality. It's a little bit of a balancing game. So sensing and feeling is really great, but not letting yourself be overwhelmed by emotion is one thing. And because there's not much support from air at this moment in time, we might not be very focused on mental pursuits. It might be more like of an emotional time. So if emotions come up in your daily life, bring your focus to those emotions to see how you can process them also um, consciously. And that's when you need to probably um, feel, how can I put this? Bring the thought into it, bring thought, but not necessarily rationality to it, because there's not much rationality in the air right now. It might be more about how you feel about things, and if you can discuss these things, especially I'm sensing with your family, with people you really care about, and having loving discussions about what you're feeling, could be very, very positive. Maybe even for mending or healing relationships that have been uh, maybe tense, or not functioning, or there's disagreements and issues. um, this could be a good time to make a point of healing those relationships by healing your relationship with yourself. And that what's going to put me in the next slide, which it's our Capricorn, our full moon in Capricorn. So this full moon in Capricorn might bring feelings again of inadequacy, of why are we doing things? The Capricorn is about achievements, goals, being out in the world, creating structures. It's about authority and your self-authority, or the authorities in the world. So our inner authorities might be coming up for a visit in different ways. We might feel maybe that we're not good enough. That's a very, very big archetypal topic. Not feeling up to the challenge, and needing nurturing and comfort, while at the same time we might have self-doubt about our capacities, or our capacities to be who we truly are in the world, and not be recognized and seen as who we are. And this may come from the childhood. So I want to go to a little bit of a comparison between the Cancer and Capricorn aspects. So you see in this image, for me, is that archetypal feel of that moon in Capricorn. And for natives who have this moon, you might maybe relate a little bit to this, how this child might have wanted some support from the parent, and the parent is either absent, worried about work, or not necessarily acknowledging that the child is just expressing themselves and or needs some support and some help. The parents may be telling them in this image could be like, well, that's not well done, you should do it this way, um, or saying, oh, that's not really good, you could do better. um, or the parent could be completely like just busy doing something else, or thinking of something, not paying attention to the child and what the child needs. So what happens here is that feeling that gets imprinted in the child, that, oh, I'm gonna have to just, what else can I do to please my parent, to be loved? Like, I'm gonna have to do it the way they are telling me to do it, because the way I do it, it's not good enough, it's not okay. And then the question becomes, today, with this full moon in Capricorn, what are you doing in your life, that what is the motivation for you to do something? Are you doing something because you have to please someone? Are you doing something because you have to? Are you doing something because, well, that's the norm, and you don't necessarily want to do it, but that's the norm, and that's just what you need to do to be socially accepted? um so the question is, what is your motivation for doing things? And if you're feeling maybe not good enough, that could be a feeling that arises with this Capricorn moon, that maybe even what you have to offer to the world is not good enough, or people are not going to like it, or people are not going to want what you have to offer, because who you are is doesn't fit maybe. And that's a little bit what I feel sometimes. um so this is kind of that Capricornian feel, you see. And then this is the Cancer polarity. So you see, this is the Capricorn, this is the Cancer. So the Cancer, it's the representation of that nurturing parent that is accompanying and holding the child through all their experience, and the child feels held, because the minute the child needs to be put out in the world to figure things out on their own, there's that feeling that I have to do it by myself, and no one's here to carry me. That's why these archetypal feelings might come up during this full moon, to see what is the need for safety and feeling held by our own self, obviously. And why, if we're still having to respond to parental dictates. And when I say parental, it's also societal dictates. This is a good time to reflect on whether or not that is giving us joy in our life. Because if what we're doing is not coming from a place of heart and joy, then this is the feeling we're going to get, and this might get intensified this week. So it's a great opportunity. This is why I wanted to bring this up, so we understand that whatever feelings of inadequacy that may come this week, that could be triggered by your own self, it could be triggered by people or situations or your job or a boss, or it doesn't matter, expectations. um can you take the time and see if this is truly connected to you and your self-worth, or if it's something that you're doing to please, or that you're not feeling good enough in any area of life? And have compassion towards yourself, that this is an archetypal field. It's not, it happens to almost everyone. I mean, we can have an appearance and appear very confident and stuff, but many people in many areas of life, we might have this self-doubts, and it's totally fine to find this self-doubt persona that lives inside of us, and give it some voice and say, hey, I see you. You're doubting yourself. You're doubting that you're good enough in the world to be loved by the world. How can we address this, and how can we give love to that part of ourselves and really value that? So this brings me to the other aspect that it's right now in so this is that aspect of the full moon in Capricorn, those two polarities of feeling the need for safety, security, and nurturing, and also seeing what is blocking us from being completely confident out in the world and doing something. That's kind of part of that Capricorn Cancer axis, right? Like being the adult, being the grown up that needs to respond. But are we like dull, boring grown ups that just responded to some societal rules and regulations? And this is where the other aspect can get very loud. This other part of ourselves in the collective psyche can get very, very loud. This is the Venus square Uranus with Mars in the mix. And I'm going to read from the Archetypal Universe by Ren Butler, dear, dear, dear mentor of mine. I'm going to read you a little bit of that combination of when Venus, Mars, and Uranus have some kind of dynamic together, and when it is a challenging dynamic, and what we can do about this challenge. So, tendencies toward wild eccentricity, social and romantic restlessness, manic or frantic socializing, cravings for romantic novelty, which interfere with deeper intimacy, fickle infatuations, attractions to rebels, romantic and sexual impatience, reckless passions, impulsive come-ons, a proneness to juggling multiple love interests, manic sexual addiction, uncertainty whether one is coming or going. So these aspects can come up in the psyche as a way of saying enough is enough. I want to be myself. I want to be seen as myself, recognized as who I am, and here I am with a big bang. That is really great when we can understand where is that need for rebellion and self-expression coming from. Obviously, we have Venus and Mars in Leo, so it's very much about me, my self-expression, and this is a little bit how it can look like, right? Venus Uranus. I I I I'm going to explain a little bit this in a bit, but the Venus Uranus in that square could be this social gathering and this person going with a very gaudy costume. It's like, I'm just gonna show what I want, and this is me, and this is my self-expression. This is an archetypal representation of that, like a situation or a societal situation that is a certain way, and the need to um show and I say show because the Leo aspect of it is about showing. So it can be eccentric, it can be bold, it could be gaudy, it could be almost have like no taste, to the point that Venus, which wants to exude art and beauty and pleasure, can become excessive. It's like eccentric, excessive. Is the too much? Is the too muchness, but just out of just wanting to say F you, kind of thing. Is that rebel nature that could come in that makes us do things that in the end might be like, well, you kind of could regret them because that picture that got taken of you and now it's all over social media. That's the kind of thing that can happen when you just go crazy and do crazy things, and especially on a more mundane level, or a more less deep level. You go for that extreme makeover or haircut, and just because you're like bored, there's a restlessness inside of you. You have to do it, you have to do it now, you have to show the world everything and how special you are, and then you just do it with a big shebang, and it might be in like the wrong setting. There's Set and setting. So this is why I put this picture here where the setting is this like very, very formal dinner, and this is really not quite fitting in, and it just feels like this disruption has no other purpose than just a restlessness. So the invitation is to see, okay, what in you, instead of going too crazy out, is like what in you has this desire. What has been blocking this desire? This desire to explore who you truly are, and show, again, the show your gifts, show what you have to offer, but in in a way that can be more moderate or conservative, if I may say. Can you still do the big shebang or the big revelation or the coming out of your closet, whatever closet that is? There's many closets that we can come out of, and that closet could be the one thing that you've been wanting to do forever that you've never dared to do because you were worried that that's not going to be like accepted, or that you will be shunned for it, or like, oh, what are you doing? So yes, you can come out of those closets, but I would say at this moment in time, what's important is to do it very responsibly and do it little by little. Do not give it all out all at once. This is why the challenge is to tame down that restlessness and just give a little taster of like, look, I'm coming out of this particular closet. I want to see how this is received, and do it within a context that is coherent in your environment. Otherwise, it could backlash on you as negative repercussions, where this too muchness again ends up in social media. You end up being like, oh my gosh, the fool, you made a fool of yourself just because you just really didn't care what anybody thought. And with Mars in the mix, there is a lot of impulse. So it's not just Venus with the maybe vanity that could come with this transit. It's also a Mars with the rebellious nature of it. And it can be really out of place. So if you're having those impulses, look within, and before you do the crazy thing, assess if it's the right setting, and if it's the right situation, and if it's the right moment to do that. Now on to my lizard hanging from the strings. Um, I had this dream last night. I woke up and I had the dream of this red lizard hanging from some strings, and that was kind of attacking me. And the psyche, the collective psyche is full of symbols, signs, and astrologies, you could also find a lot of meaning in dreams with under certain transits. And I would highly recommend, like, in the Archetypal Universe by Ren Butler, he has amazing passages of what could show up in your dreams, while certain transits. And it's very interesting to me that while we're having that very Leo energy connected to that square to Uranus, this red, red lizard appears in my dreams. So I went online to research what a red lizard means, and I was very surprised to find that it's connected to the passion of dreaming what comes from your heart, is to giving your true gifts to the world, what is important to you, what gives you joy and passion. And when it's connected to that, and not to forget to connect to those dreams, dare dream the reality where you are the most authentic self. I thought that was extremely powerful, because I'm like, wow, this is completely in the archetypal field. And this is why I am, while this whole Leo season is still very active, and Venus is still moving forward, and then we'll be moving backwards, and we'll be making that square to Uranus. So if we're conscious of the ask of this transit, the ask is clear, is where have you been blocked, that you need to release pent-up energy that is creative in nature, and that is of your true self-expression, that's connected to your heart. Where is the energy blocked by maybe parental or societal constructs that would not allow that would say that you're self-expressing is not okay. You're not supposed to do this here. It's the child, again, the child that's told not to, and that has to do something that is not themselves in order to please or fit in or be accepted by society. So this time is the time of that ask. and and if we're really aware of this, the nature to just rebel. And in relationships it could be also like breaking up because you're just tired of the rut and the monotony, but instead of going, okay, why, where's the rut coming from? Have you forgotten a part of yourself? Have you forgotten to get excitement on your own? There's many ways to deal with this Venus Uranus square that could have so much restlessness and boredom of the everyday life, and everything seems so bland, and let's just get crazy. So the ask of this is can you, within the framework of 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 the whole, not you just yourself by your own self-expression, but understanding that when there's little air, we don't have much of a Libra, and we don't have much of Aquarius or Gemini. So what happens here is the sociability, the other, the Libra or the Aquarius, which is, well, all of us, tends to be a little bit forgotten. So it can become about me and completely out of context. So the ask of this square is to make sure that yes, you are looking within you where and how you're going to bring those gifts out into the world that are uniquely yours, and where the blockages could have come from, and why you're not doing it. Why? This is the perfect time to ask yourself why. And you can do some family constellation work. Again, with the Cancer energy so present, family constellation work is great because it will take you back to those family dynamics, and you might go, aha, that's where it comes from. Oh, this is why I'm reacting or rebelling. Oh, this is why I just want to you know, do this like extreme expression of eccentricity. And I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm just saying that the energy could express itself this way, and it just could just be jarring. It's like having I having a beautiful picture or painting and wanting, out of, I don't know, I just want to just change it and just go and paint all over it, and and make it into, I don't know, a rock star or something like that. And in the end, then you're like, oh, I ruined this beautiful painting that was so valuable or whatnot. It can be that. Or I don't know if you remember back when there was those kids that threw a can of soup at a Van Gogh painting out of a demonstration for rebellion. You see, and this is a very Venus Uranus square with Mars kind of attitude. Is you get your Campbell soup, your pop, and throw it at a beautiful, valuable painting, and just out of anger. So, and what does that do in the end? It doesn't do anything really. Yeah, it just provokes more. And what is provocation, right? So the ask is always to come back to ourselves. And why are we being so provoked? What is the rebel trying to protect? And the rebel inside always tries to protect, obviously, the inner child that just wants to be held, safe, loved, and seen. This is so simple. And this is so psychological. And it's in all of us to a certain degree or different extent. So if you're more aware of it, you can work on it and have awareness around it. And if you're not, and this is the first time you're hearing this, you can go, oh, really? Is that so? And then I will invite you to rewind and listen to this again so you understand what I'm saying. So that is that for that very potent full moon that, well, I mean, I could, let's see. And let's not forget that this full moon is heavily aided by Jupiter in Taurus. So that's why the healing capacity for this full moon is really, really big. And then to eventually actualize those dreams in reality. And that's the gift of the earth elements, which obviously is the Taurus and the Capricorn in this moment. And once planets move into Virgo, that's when we're going to be able to take these passions and turn it into actual realities. So if we do this well, and we really connect to that joy and not to the restlessness and the rebelliousness of it, but to the joy of self-expression and being who we are, then it's going to be very easy to start generating value out of your gifts. And this is the whole plan. And this is why the astrology has been moving like that, and creating situations for you to look at. So July, well, actually July 10th, 11th, we'll have Mars coming into Virgo. And this is when the energy will probably shift quite dynamically and quite drastically as Mars moves into Virgo. And then we have Mercury moving into Leo. So Mercury into Leo points out at even more of that desire for self-expression and uh glare and flash, and I could even say maybe a little bit of talking too much about yourself, being too much self-absorbed as well. So we want to be in that self-expression with moderation. And well, the Virgo energy will definitely tame that, because the Virgo is where you go, okay, how are we going to do this? And the Mars in Virgo will give us the possibility of that how. So towards the second half of the month, that's when we're going to go, all those ideas and all those impulses we have. This is where we get our calendar. This is where we get our little to-do list and go, how? Because Mars is going to be very supportive. Mars in Virgo is very much about the details and how to get things right. It's like the engineering mind. It's the engineer that this works like this, and if you put it there, it doesn't work, and little knobs and bolts, and they kind of all come together to make this perfect machine. So that Mars in Virgo will have will bring that capacity to bring these things into fruition, if we are methodical. And that will be the ask of the next half of the month. It's like, you cannot just like, okay, I got all these gifts, I got all this gift, let's just do it. No. Fire, aim, go. It's not fire, aim, ready. It's not that. That would not be the best energy to be dealing with right now. Right now it's prepare, make sure it's correct, make sure and yes, get the impetus, get the energy from that Leo, but make sure you have all your ducks in a row. So this time is going to be beautiful for you to start really putting things together. And I know for myself and people that I live with, we are really wanting to start doing workshops and things that are really connected to ourselves. And sometimes it's like, how do we do this? How do we do this? Well, we'll just like do it. We'll just do it. And it's like, yeah, there's a lot of that energy. Remember that the restless energy that only creates things that are not of quality. The Virgo energy will bring that desire and the need for do things instead of quantity and just whatever comes. It's make sure whatever you're putting out of yourself is of the best quality. And this is why Saturn here is going to be making an opposition towards more the second half of the month to Mars, to make sure that Mars is not going all crazy, that energy is not just too impatient, but we do things right. And that might feel like things are slowing down, like you want to do something, but again, you have to review something, you forgot a detail, and you have to go back, and it feels like, oh, I forgot that we needed this or we needed that. So in order to avoid that, from the get-go, start doing things or in an orderly way, in a very Virgo way. In an orderly way, meaning, okay, how can I do this first? This is second. I should not forget this. I have this feeling that for the second part of the month, if you're a Virgo, this is gonna be a very positive time, because it will really activate your energy. So for for Virgos, Tauruses, and Capricorns, I think anyone in the earth signs will feel that this energy is very exciting in a certain sense. It's like, oh, finally something grounded, not so much craziness, confusion, emotion, you know. Once there's more energy in the earth signs, we're going to be able to see things like really manifest. Oh, these ideas I have now are in the world, and you'll be able to see them. Method, right? But that's only after the first week. I would say for this week, just focus on what I said before, and I think you're gonna be all golden and dandy. So this has been a little bit long, and I know I'm taking time to explain these things, and I hope you're getting value out of this, that you're really reflecting on yourselves um and taking the juice out of this. And if you like this video, please feel free to share, like, subscribe, write comments. Let me know how you're feeling all these energies. I feel excited when I see somebody tell me about how they experience something. And we're all different, and our charts are all different. So not everybody experiences the energy in the same way. That's also something to be aware of, especially if you are new to astrology. This doesn't apply to everybody all the time, but many people will be feeling these archetypal energies. And we can always help the collective by giving our own little bit of consciousness and conscious action. So that's what I invite you all to do. And I will see you in the next video. I love you, and little Neptune here loves you too. Bye.